Welcome to another show, and if you've been watching this for a few weeks now, you know this background here, so that means that I'm in London again. This background, actually, we never addressed this background. This background, it's a poster from one of my favorite movies growing up as a teenager. It's kind of a teenager movie, but in a good way. It's the Garden State poster, so if you haven't watched this movie, great soundtrack and great movie as well. So hope everyone's doing well. So as I said, I'm in London again. We flew a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken, and because Portugal, even though I've been saying here that Portugal is doing very well and all that stuff, well, it turns out that it's one of the worst countries now. Regarding new infections. I don't think the story is well told though, but that's how the numbers go, and because of that, Portugal is in the blacklist of countries that need to be, everyone that travels from there, regardless where they're from originally, they have to do quarantine. So I'm enjoying my quarantine at my place in London very much. Not really. Yeah, it's no fun, I have to say. It's no fun being stuck at home, and I was really actually interested when they announced the list, how they would control this kind of situation, because of course they cannot put they can enforce the law by having or send the policeman to every person that arrives in the country. So I was quite interested in seeing how they would do this, and I have to say that until now I received one phone call from the services, and just basically informing that we have to do the quarantine and all that stuff. So self-isolation, actually, that's how they call it. And yeah, today is sunny, so it's a bit hot inside our place, but it was quite a change from Portugal, I have to say. And well, it's so different that it's hard to put in place. But we're going to talk about this pandemic update as usual. Let me just thank everyone again. Thank you all for the messages. This is basically like every day there's messages arriving to my inbox congratulating the show, and likes, new subscriptions and all that stuff. So it's growing quite a lot. There will be news already from today on the show, and it's my intention to keep this moving in terms of new things. We'll see what I'm talking about in a while. And yeah, so I was saying that pandemic update, very different from Portugal, what's happening here. But before that, let me just tell everyone, just in case if people are not aware, because this is very fresh, this is from today. Apparently in London or in the UK, the lockdown is going to be eased in the workplaces and also transportation. So I don't know exactly what that means. This was Boris Johnson announcing this morning. I believe it was this morning. So they are lifting the lockdown, even though the death rates and all that stuff and the numbers are not looking too good. But I think the intention is obviously trying to save the economy as much as possible, and of course the lockdown will have to end at some point. But at the moment, I'm not too sure if the governments, because they're so scared about this lockdown and about the lockdown is affecting the economy, I'm not too sure if they're just putting all the eggs in just one basket, which is like let's put the economy running again, without really thinking whether or not this is actually working numbers wise in terms of infections, because we've all seen what happened when they opened the pubs in here. I was like really shocked, I have to say. I was really shocked, and I know that I'm not alone in this. What happened was they opened the pubs, and of course everybody was really eager, especially because it's such an iconic thing, and it's something that everyone is dying to do, just have a little bit of a good time here with their friends in London, especially. But throughout the country, really. So a lot of people in Seoul especially were just, it was like a massive amount of people in the streets. I didn't see one wearing one mask. So it was kind of scary, to be honest. And it turns out, it seems, I read on the next day, or I read in the next week or something, that some of those pubs closed down because the staff got infected. So that's what I'm saying. I don't want this show to be political or anything like that, but this is about public health. At least that's how I see it. But yeah, this is kind of scary. So in London or in the UK, the lockdown is going to be eased more and more, starting from I think it's from, I don't know when these workplaces and transportation lockdown wise are going to be lifted, but I think it's going to be soon because this was announced today. But anyway, in terms of what's happening in our industry, more and more, we all see people being available on LinkedIn, posting their show reels, saying that they're available. There's now a green thing that you can put on your profile, on your photo on LinkedIn, saying that you are available. It is what it is, I guess, but I see more and more people doing this. So, and I know, personally speaking, some people that are in kind of some dramatic situations. One's, you know, everybody's facing some difficulties at this point, of course. But this is scary, and it seems like a second wave is more than likely. At this point, and I think the WHO, even though they were saying in the beginning that this is more and more unlikely to happen, a second wave, they are now saying that the pandemic thing is going to be worse and worse if the countries are not taking the necessary measures. So they are changing their speech. I think the WHO is also you know, communicating sometimes in a contradictory way, but I think we are all learning with this, because this is a novel virus, so nobody really knows exactly how to tackle this, and on top of that, nobody's prepared for a pandemic. So as I said, the UK pubs opened about a week ago with no social distancing, even though I saw some policemen in the footage that they put out there, and photos and all that stuff, but I don't know, man, it's quite scary, I have to say. What else? There will be masks as a mandatory thing in the UK as well within a week, and this is where I found the most difference between Portugal and UK, because in Portugal you see everybody wearing a mask. Well, if not everybody, a great portion of people in the streets. And in here, when I arrived here, I didn't see anyone. Even if I look at the street at the moment, I don't see anyone wearing a mask. So it's quite different. Also in Portugal, if you want to go to, I'm not saying Portugal as an example, I'm just saying that this is a difference. And it's a very big difference. If you go into a shop, you are required to wear a mask, otherwise you're not gonna get in. So in here, they are apparently want to do that within a week, but I don't get this weight, honestly. Just me, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, of course. So what do I know? I'm just saying that this is a massive difference from these two countries, at least, and in other countries as well, because I've been speaking with some friends of mine that are living in different countries. But yeah, quite different, quite different, and the overall feeling in the streets, it's completely different. In here, I don't see almost anyone in the street, and the ones that I see, they are not wearing a mask. Whereas in Portugal, pretty much everybody's in the streets, also because there's good weather, of course. They are enjoying their time, they're going into restaurants and all that stuff, but always with masks. So they are practicing that kind of you know, measures there. But the fact is, the numbers are going up. So to a certain extent, of course, Portugal still is one of the countries with less numbers, but I think in terms of new infections, they are going up quite a lot. So I need to really focus on a specific part of the country. So, and that's why we are now with we are blacklisted at the moment, at least. So that's it, I guess, for the pandemic update. Not really good news, I don't think. We'll see we'll see what happens in our industry. I've been saying this from the beginning. I don't think a lot of things will change for the best until the end of the year. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but I really hope I'm wrong. But this is what I'm seeing, and this is what we are seeing, all of us, pretty much every day. Okay, that's it for the pandemic update. Sorry if it was like a little bit negative, but it is what it is, I guess. So what else? So technical highlight of the week. This is something that is kind of new, not necessarily from this week, but I came across with basically a piece of paper. I think that's exactly what it is, a piece of paper from a guy called Martin Petrov, which I believe it's a Bulgarian developer, Character TD. I think he has his own company, and he basically put something very simple. I think I saw it on LinkedIn maybe a couple of weeks ago or something, which is basically a paper explaining how vectors work and how vector operations work, like dot product, cross product, additions, subtractions, and all that stuff. Which is I'm going to put this on LinkedIn, on Discord channel. If not on our Discord channel, please join our Discord channel, because there will be some specific communications that I'm going to do only there. So what else do I have? And by the way, yeah, so the technical highlight is it's from Martin Petrov, and I'm gonna put this on Discord channel, and I'm gonna put this probably also on the comments as usual, so everybody can take a look, because I think it's a small thing, nothing too complicated, nothing too fancy, and of course you will only get the good stuff out of it if you know a little bit of vectors, even though that's really simple stuff. But if you don't know what a vector is, you're not gonna take anything from that piece of paper. But yeah, that's it for the technical highlight of the week. And let's see what we have on the chat. All right, so we have two of our usual viewers, our lovely moderator Sabine and Mauricio. How you doing, you two? Yeah, so I was saying, and I said in the beginning of this show, that there will be some new things coming, and I'm going to announce a new one right now, which is the Tech Corner. Now it's going to change sometimes, okay, sometimes, as I please, because I'm the owner of the show. No, but there will not be something like with a specific type of schedule or anything like that. It's when I think it's right. But there will be an interchange between sometimes the Tech Corner and one thing that I'm going to call Tech Challenge, which will be something that I'm going to present to you guys. You're going to have like around 1 week to come up with something similar. So we promote this kind of interchange and getting all of you to be a little bit more interested and a little bit more engaged, not interested, but engaged with the show. And this will be something that will be run only on Discord channel. So there will be, not at the moment, it's not there yet, but there will be a new channel called Tech Challenge. And you'll be able to put your submissions there in terms of, trying to emulate what I'm about to show you at the moment. So let's take a look. Let's open this new segment. Let's take a look. And I'm going to interchange, as I said, week by week between this and the Tech Corner. All right. So we mix a little bit. This is actually something that is not new for some of you, because in the beginning of the show there was a show in which I was talking about a specific effect on the Node file, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna put my version of what I'm trying to get people to answer, and then I without being officially or anything like that, I start doing what it's now going to be the Tech Challenge. So let's take a look at this one that I'm talking about. I'm going to let it run for a while, and I'm going to talk on top of it. But let's open that new segment called Tech Challenge. All right, so this is the Tech Challenge for this week. Okay, so it's and I'm going to tell you the rules. I'm going to put my face in here. So I'm going to tell you the rules. So the rules are, you have to come up with something similar to what I'm showing you here. okay? And the rules are, it has to be with all native nodes, okay? So there's no plugins or tools that you use that you probably were the one developing them or whatever. But if that's the case, you have to open them up, okay? You have to come up with something that is truly yours with only native nodes, all right? And the winner of the challenge, and I'm going to pick up a winner within a week or so, has to be open to share the solution. Of course, that's the whole premise of the segment. Of course, and then we can confront our solutions, okay? So I can tell you that this is a pretty simple thing to achieve. There's nothing, it looks like really good in terms of, not good, but complicated sometimes, but or it can appear complicated, that's what I'm trying to say, but it's not, okay? It's a very simple solution, and all of you will be able to, regardless the level, all of you will be able to achieve this, I believe. All right, so as you can see, this is a cube. You can choose whatever geometry you want, and this has to work in every single geometry. And the premise is you have to come up with a fake subsurface kind of a thing, okay? It's a fake subsurface, all right? And you have to be able to put an object inside as well, as I'm showing you here. And the refraction that you're seeing here of the glow, it's optional, okay? This is just some extra stuff, and it has nothing to do, I can tell you, it has nothing to do with the effect itself, all right? So this is the tech challenge for this week, and the winner, at least for now, all right, maybe this will change in the future, but the winner will be here with me on the show, okay? So if people want to participate, they have to be open to share the solution. They have to be open to share the solution not only with me, but with everyone, of course. Please submit your answers on the specific channel that I'm going to create. It's not created yet, but I'm going to create a specific channel on Discord, so you can submit your result. I just want to care about the result for now, and it's based on the result that I'm going to choose the winner. All right, and then the winner will be here on the show with all of us, talking about everything and nothing as usual, but also talking about the solution that he or she came up with. All right. So that's it. I hope you liked it. Let's see what's the reaction. I paid a long time no see. Hello, Mauricio. So this is the Tech Corner for not Tech Corner, Tech Challenge. Now we changed the name for this week. So it's time now for our guest. And let me tell you something about the guest today. All right. So the guest today, it's someone, and I've been saying this actually for the past few weeks. And it's true again. It's someone that you all know. All right, I believe that you all know. If you don't know this person, if you don't know this name, there's you're probably not looking. You're basically asleep or something, because it's a name that's been around for quite a while. Doing very interesting things, and it's with great pleasure that I'm gonna have this guest in the show, and I believe everyone will like this guest as well, as usual. Okay, we have a great show for you today, as usual. So let's try to call our guest. Let's see if everything's ready. Everything seems all just fine. All right, so without further ado, let's call our guest. See you in a second. Hello, Mas Hagbarth. Pretty much everyone should know you by now, because for the past 5 years or so, that's when I came across with your name, actually.
Yeah.
And since then, you've been developing a lot of stuff, and you've been very active in the community. So I think everyone by now pretty much know you. But for those people that probably are living in a cave or something, or just starting out, we have to address everyone. Can you please introduce yourself a bit better?
Yeah, my name is Mads Damsbo. I'm a VFX Technical Director and Pipeline Technical Director at a small or medium-sized, small to medium-sized post house in Copenhagen, in Denmark. That makes small TV series and feature films and stuff like that. And I'm also quite well known for developing tools both on Nupedia and I have a little blog with my surname, Hagbarth.net. And I have a little a commercial tool out now, the Point Render, which
pretty much
it's kind of my
everyone
first
heard
in
about, I
many.
believe.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm into.
Cool.
At this point
All
in time.
right. All right. So you just mentioned, you know, some development that you do and all that stuff, and that you did a lot of stuff, not only sharing in Wikipedia, but also on your blog.
Yeah.
And that's actually how I came across your name many years ago. And at that moment, I don't believe a lot of people knew you. I'm talking about that phase in which you start developing a cloud with true VDB kind of situation. Remember that time? This was around 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I mean, this is something different. And you're from that point, I could see your development, and from that point, you've been well. At the moment, you are basically the king of Blink script, because you're the go-to guy for Blink script, and it would be great to know about your journey on that front. Like, what triggered your interest for developing things in Blink script?
I think, you know, it all comes back to sort of a portion in time where I wanted, I guess at my old company, we had, it started out with, you know, the first day when I started out at the job, I was like, I got a spreadsheet, and my supervisor came up to me and he said, like, okay, here's a spreadsheet and some time codes and some real names, and you have to, this is your shot, so you have to like find this real name, and you have to find this time code, and you have to find this. So you find the real name and time code, you look up where in like a big folder all the red files are, you find the red file, create a new script, set the time codes, make sure that the read in and read out is correctly. You make sure that you know, you save the script correctly. You make sure that you set the color spaces correctly. Everything just had to be set up, and that took like 5 to 10 minutes just to set every single shot up. And if it's like you just need to like do a clean frame, like a freeze frame that you need to fix, something like that, it just takes a minute to fix the shot, and it takes 10 minutes to go through it. And I had seen some FX PhD tutorials specifically regarding Python at that time. So I started out testing if this was something. I mean, I didn't know that much Python, but I tried. I thought maybe I'll just give it a go. And so I tried it out, and it turned out that it was actually a pretty nice tool to have just for myself. And my supervisor came up to me and asked, you know, you should probably not spend too much time on that stuff, rather just you know, working on your shots. And you know, within like 3 weeks, everybody at the studio were using that tool. So so that kind of just started the whole being interested in technical stuff, and being interested in development, and being interested in doing, first of all, Python tools. That was sort of the first thing I did. And then I remember seeing the Foundry had these they had a 2009, it was like a masterclass on YouTube, which was like very, very technical. Like usually it's like we show what some people have been doing in this feature film and so on. But this was just like, go crazy and see what's like the limit of what you can do inside of Nuke, like making crazy custom panels for QT and relighting, just using expression nodes. That was kind of new to me at that point, and that really triggered sort of my interest in trying out, you know, see what the expression node can do first of all, and just generally like computer graphics. And at the point where the Blink script node was introduced, before that, I was hacking a lot of things. Like, you know, I guess I tried to do a volume render using Deep, and it was
painful.
It was
right?
it was working. It was painful, and it was really, really slow. But actually, you know, finally getting into Blink script that allows you to do those kind of things that you cannot do with just regular Nuke nodes. It was amazing, and I just love having everything inside the compositing environment, not having to go anywhere else. Just, you know,
you solve like a lot of things by yourself. Like you are like this Swiss Army knife kind of a thing, because you can do so many things inside Nuke. And it's true. And you touch a point, and I believe it's really important, which is the fact of experimenting. A lot of people that I know they are kind of afraid of experimenting without even trying to experiment because they put a limit on themselves, and they don't even try something that probably they could have solved themselves by just trying. And even if the tryout fails, probably that would trigger something in their brains to come up with something different in a different situation. So I think it's very important. I just wanted to underline that.
It is both a blessing and a curse, because sometimes it's like there is this shot and it's, I mean, I think of it like a solution. There is like some solution that could probably take an hour. And I think of a solution, this could probably take like 15 minutes if I do it right. And then you spend those 15 minutes, oh my God, this is not going to work. So sometimes you create like this magical tool. It can just work across every single shot of that type in a specific sort of shot range.
Yeah,
it's just amazing. And sometimes it just feels like you've wasted your time. But it's, I guess, the curiosity is just of going through, and I mean, you learn a lot trying to tackle small problems. I love when people like say that, oh my God, we had this problem and we cannot figure out how to solve it. It's like, yeah, give me that problem. I'll try to see if
that's the mind of an engineer, isn't it? That's what engineers do.
I really like to go into those and just like not going maybe too deep into those topics, but just get like my feet wet and just figure out, okay, how does this work? Because I mean, you can spend your entire life trying to learn just one topic, and just being like that jack of all trades, master of none, just knowing a bit about everything without going too deep. Then you can sort of, okay, I can use a bit from here and a bit from here and a bit from here, and then like combine it all. And that's kind of my strength, I guess. Not being too much down into one, like,
a little bit of
having like a lot of boxes to pick from when I do my things.
Which that opens like a lot of possibilities for us as compositors, because a lot of time what we do is solving problems. So if you have multiple solutions for sometimes the same problem, depending on the situation, one can work and not the other. So I think that's super important for sure. And actually, as I said when we were starting this conversation, I personally started paying more attention around that time that you start developing that clouds in your blog, and I was like, man, this is compositing, this is in Nuke, right? And I was like, fucking hell, I have to know how to do that. And then I tried for a while, and I'm really normally I don't let go a lot of things that I put myself into, and even though a lot of times I want to, because it's been in some situations it's too painful to just keep going on something that is not going anywhere. And normally I don't let go of that. But in this time, I was like, I don't have time for this. I really don't. And I let it go. But can you guide us briefly, without being like too technical? How do you come up with creating VDB kind of a situation inside Nuke? On that example specifically.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about sort of getting inspiration, first of all, was like playing Assassin's Creed. You had this Assassin's Creed Unity, and it had this beautiful light shafts and volume light and stuff like that. And I really wanted to know how they did that, first of all, but also how we can recreate that inside the Nuke, because volumes usually takes a long time to render. So it'd be really cool to have something that works a lot quicker. And I was quite jealous at like video games doing this stuff in real time. So actually, what I did at first is actually a bit something to do with the you had this week. So I'm not sure if I should.
To the extent of what you can share, to the extent without disclosing it.
Yeah, but I was having this thing by using the scanline render to do this to sort of do the groundwork for the volume render. It was kind of setting the boundaries for sort of where is the box located. Like I get the point positions of the box itself, and then it's just about, it might sound difficult, but in my mind it sounds very easy. But just like shooting array from like the position of the camera, and then just, I mean, you have like a vector from the camera, and it just shoots out and checks if there's anything it hits along array. And if you have like a volume noise, so you have the distance to a sphere, or distance to a certain point in space, you can like calculate how much density you run through
Yeah, it's like the principles of a dot product, basically. That's what you're saying.
And the base code is so simple. I mean, it's
but
just a few lines of
my question
code,
is actually not so much on that front. It's more about like the volumetric noise that you come up with. That's what at that time cracked me up. Honestly, I was like, okay, I can use a, what's that, the CMS pattern to generate something like a cloud like that, but and then when I was reading it, I was like, I think that's the kind of the way that you went through, right, with the CMS pattern, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, the CMS test pattern is essentially just like a lattice 3D cube, right? And you can, with the expression node, like say FBM, and then you can say X, Y, and Z position, and then your linearity, your gain, and your
okay, got it.
The octaves. So that X, Y, and Z position, if you just put in the lattice, red, green, and blue, that would basically fill that in with noise. So that's the 3D
cool.
noise.
All right. Mystery solved.
And of course, and then you have the issue, because then you have a 3D noise, but you really want a 4D noise because you want to be able to evolve the noise. So rather than just having a static noise, you want to be able to have it move a bit.
Yeah.
So that's usually where you need like 4D noise, and Nuke doesn't come with a 4D noise by default. You can like do some interpolation of 2D noise to create 4D noise.
But maybe with an expression creating noise like that, you can animate the seed as well.
No, but the seed is usually, I mean, the seed usually is the C position. So, I mean, in normal 2D noise, you have the X and the Y and the C position.
The Z,
right.
That
is the...
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, cool. All right. Well, yeah, I didn't get that far, like I said, because at the time I was doing supervision as well. That's when I came up with that, and I was like, man, this would solve. I would like to try this for a bunch of shots that I have here. For my team, but I didn't get the time to dedicate myself to that, and then I let it go, and which is something that is not very common for me, because a lot of times, even though I really want to let it go because it's taking too much of my time and of my dreams and all of that, because that kind of things sticks in your brain, and
exactly.
it doesn't leave there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have the same feeling with a lot of stuff that
I usually
right?
take that stuff with me home, because I mean,
I know, man. I know
those kind of challenges. I just need to like spend some more time on it, and if there's no time for it at work, I'll figure out to do it at home. Because I mean, usually like when I get those problems, I just have to like dig deep into them, because it's just so gratifying to find solutions to these kind of things. And at the same time, it's a bit annoying when you like come to like a complete stop where you cannot, I mean, you cannot find a solution or something like that, or it's not possible inside of Nuke. That's a bit of a letdown, but at that time, usually something else comes along and you're like,
that's exactly. And I think I've shared this here many times. A lot of times I want to quit because of the reasons and we've all been there, because it's too painful, it's taking too much of your time, it's taking too much of your dreams, it's taking too much on your family time and all that stuff, because that stuff sticks in your brain, and it doesn't, it lives there for forever until you solve the problem.
Exactly.
But normally when you think there's no solution, this is a message that I want to pass to everyone, especially the ones and more I know more people that want to learn Python, for example, which I think it's a great thing to do in these times, during these times, because these times it's all about preparation for what's coming, and it's about time on investment of on ourselves. And but usually when that kind of feeling hits of not being possible to solve, there's this tiny door or this tiny light that you can see at the end of the tunnel, and then you can dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and then there you go, you find the solution after a while. So this happens quite often to me, and probably happens to you. And I think it happens, this is a common thing from everybody that I've that developed tools. This happens to a lot of people from my experience.
But that thing is just one of the other thing is not just not being able to find the right solution. The other thing is just thinking that it's not good enough, right? You run into that one issue. You have like the fairly good like foundation for solution, but you run into like a small problem, and you're just constantly thinking, oh my god, this is not good enough. Like the valley of despair, what's it called? It's just like I fall into that like every time I develop a tool. It's like I run into that situation where, oh my god, this is not good
And
enough, and
sometimes
nobody's gonna
it's
want to
something
use it.
so small, like you said, it's something so small within the greater picture of what we're trying to develop. But that
Yeah.
thing it gets in the way of everything, of the outcome of what you, and it's super annoying. It's really, really fucking annoying, I have to
Exactly.
say.
Yes.
All right, cool. So I was about to ask you, because of all, your profile these days, I'm sure you've been invited to go everywhere in the world, and I think
Mm-mm.
to work in every company pretty much, from smaller companies to the big boys. I think a
Yeah.
few years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember you posting an image of an invitation from Weta in which you have to say no or something like that, right? This was a long time
Yeah.
ago. So as you can see,
Yeah.
I've been
It's
stalking you for all of these years.
it was quite interesting because I mean, back when I started, I started out, I had a quite fun with my last job. But the thing is, at some point, like our chief supervisor or main supervisor, he was fired, and there was like a bad mood in the department. I wanted to get away. I wanted to go somewhere else or something like that. But I didn't have a reel. I didn't have anything, and I was like looking around. I mean, how are you going to promote yourself if you don't have a reel? And you're nobody, and nobody knows about you. And I thought, okay, maybe I should learn like Cinema 4D and this and that, and a bunch of different things so I could like make a reel for myself. But I was
Okay.
looking around and I saw that a lot of people who I knew in the industry were people who not necessarily had the reel, but they were just present on some
Social
like they
media
had a
and
blog or they
yeah.
had on social media or anything like that. And it was usually those kind of people who, like, I know their name, and I knew like their small icon on the forum. I know that was the people who I knew. So I thought maybe sharing whatever I was, because I was doing a lot of like small development stuff at that time, and maybe someone would think that was interesting. So I started sharing that stuff, and I think it was about the time when I released the first demo of Stick It. I got the
Yeah.
first major, invitation to come and work at like a major studio, and when the first thing come around, you're like, you're trying everything you can to get that stuff. I mean, you really want to go, like, how do I get to the UK? I mean, should I like take my girlfriend with me, and what about family and kids and all that stuff, right? It's it's quite crazy that first time, and then it's like, okay, I can't do this. It's not possible. I'm like too rooted in Denmark, so it wouldn't be possible for me to like move to another country or something like that. So when they just start coming in, it's like, because you feel so
I
bad.
know,
You don't
man.
want to burn any bridges, and you don't want to sound like a complete asshole, like say, I'm sorry, no. Right, because
No,
you really want, I mean, you really want to like have the contact with people, like, so that was actually pretty hard to like
yeah.
find a good way to say no to
I
people.
can imagine, but I applaud you for that, because these decisions are pretty difficult, especially when we have so much passion about the craft that we do, and then the
Yeah.
big boys come and knock on your door, and they have to say for any reason you have to say no.
Yep.
But you still keep going, and that's what you've been doing ever since. You're still in Denmark, of course. The industry in
Yep.
Denmark, it's smaller in comparison with the UK, or and I just mentioned Weta. Of course, it's one of the biggest companies that we have in our industry. So I applaud you for that, because that doesn't, I don't think, weakens your position at all, as you were kind of alluding at the moment, like not being able to say yes, and don't want to sound like a dick or anything like that.
No.
But
Yeah.
all in all, I think that strengthens your position, to be honest with you, because you're the master of your fate. You go where you want to go. You still keep doing your stuff, and the
Yeah.
rest, I mean, they can keep knocking on your door until you feel like you're ready, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
But
but I applaud you for that,
it's
because I remember. But this was a true story, right? This wet situation that I just mentioned, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, that was that sort of, I had like a list of places that I wanted to go. Right, and I was like on the sort of the top, right?
Yeah.
So that was like, yeah, that was a big one.
All
And
right.
it's so strange. Like I said, it's so hard to say no, but am still in good contact with many of those people who have who have asked me for precision at some point. So I guess I have not been sounding like
No,
a
I
big
don't.
asshole when
No.
saying no.
I
So
would say quite the opposite. I would say quite the opposite, to be honest with you, because I think that triggers even more interest, if anything. I'll be honest.
exactly.
That's my take on it. But yeah, I applaud you for that, because a lot of times it's very difficult. So you decided for your own reasons to stay in Denmark, and you just mentioned the fact that you changed companies at that time. So what's your job like these days? Is it more about like film, TV, commercials? It's a mix of everything.
So before, last position was a bit of everything. I did motion design as well. So motion design and feature film and some TV series. But now we mainly do TV series and feature films. We do most of the Danish, at least, yeah, I guess most of the Danish feature films, and we do a lot of different TV series. We have done a bit for Netflix here recently, which is quite nice. It's usually they're quite nice, those projects, because like they're a bit more like things with the things that blow up and virus everywhere and stuff like that. I really like to make something like, if you do a lot of like cleanup work for a lot of time, it's nice to have something where you can actually do some
yes,
like,
of
actual
course,
effect
of course.
stuff, right?
Yeah, of
so
course.
Yeah, that's really cool. But other than that, I also have that thing with just helping out in the different departments, because I'm sort of the bridge between sort of the editorial department, I guess, from time to time, and the VFX department, and also like the bridge between the VFX department and the grading department, because I have a bit of knowledge about everywhere. So I'm like a good person to like be that sort of the technical bridge, and talk to people all the way from the ingest part all the way down to the finishing and delivery.
Well, that opens up a lot of ideas, because the needs are so different, and you have to,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. And it's so interesting to like some of the things that we're working with, like we were doing some small research projects, some deep learning, and it was like, oh my god, we could use it down in the editorial department, because that would be really awesome. Like there's so many things where you can where you
I
can
see that
they're
happening. Yeah.
like, why do you waste that so much time on doing this stuff? We could like fix this thing, and So yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me just remind people, because they've been really quiet now. I'm sure it's because they're so interested in our conversation. But guys, if you have questions, please post them, and I'll be picking them at some point. All right, so don't I know that you want to pay attention, and please, by all means, please keep doing that. But if you have questions, please post them online. So I think now it's time now to maybe talk about the point render that everybody knows at this point, and that's how you became like so well known, right? Because but first of all, before we enter into that, it's point render / Higgs. Right, and I've had some people asking, so what's with this name? Is it this name or is it the other name? I think for myself, in my mind I always call it Higgs, because it's so much easier. You know what I mean? It's easier to remember. But do you want to clear that up a bit?
Yeah, that was sort of the bad part. Bad on my part, I guess, because the way that I'm marketing it or marketed it, I did that promo video where I put Higgs in the end, like a big Higgs, and that was kind of like telling that tool was called Higgs. But the thing is, it's actually my company that's called Higgs, and that tool is called Point Render. But Point Render, I mean, that's such a silly name, but I had the name Point Render. The thing is, developing tools, like coming up with a name, is freaking hard. It's really, really hard to come up with a cool name and something that sticks. And when you sit around with that Point Render name for so long internally, and you have to figure out a name, like what should we call it, something fancy, and you just end up, I can't find any good name for it. It's just Point Render. And then people hear Higgs, and it's probably, okay, that thing is called Higgs. And so when people start writing articles about it and say that's called Higgs as well, I guess at this point I have to rename the company and then do something like that in order to
okay, so it's Point Render, right?
It's Point Render, exactly.
Okay,
it's
cool.
It's called Point Render. Yeah.
All right, cool.
So my next tool is going to be like Higgs Mist. Which
okay.
So I guess that's going to clear it up. Yeah.
Okay, cool, thank you, because I want to talk about that as well. Okay, so the Higgs is the name of the company, but the
Exactly.
actual name of the tool is Point Render. So thank you for cleaning that up, because I think some
Yeah.
people have some doubts about that.
Yeah.
I've tried it once in a while. I have to be honest, it's something that it's not something that I use every day.
No.
Because
Yeah,
especially
it's
on a
very for the
film.
sort of for the special occasions, like for
Exactly.
those special effects. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to talk about some of the criticism that I've heard so far. Not criticism, but some of the limitations that people talk about. And I would like to
Yep.
address that if you want it, if you can.
Yeah,
But
sure.
you just mentioned that the Higgs is the name of the company, right? So you have to set up a name of a company, pretty much, to
Yep.
sell that the tool, and it's not a tool; it's a tool set that you have. And you came up with a very competitive price. So all the companies pretty much bought it, right? Do you want to guide us a little bit on that journey, because this starting out on something that you did for yourself, trying out some things, and then it exploded kind of. It was like an exploding kind of situation, right?
It was. Yeah, exactly, Gary. I sort of had this, and there are a few things that I really wanted to create as sort of tools. And the problem was that it was a bit scary for me, like creating a company. And I thought, maybe I sold 3 copies of the tool, and then the like extra stuff I need to put in to like create the company, get an accountant, figure out how to do the extra tax stuff, how to do the VAT, and there's a lot of stuff that you need to go through in order to get this stuff working. And I was just afraid that would suck out the sort of the enjoyment of actually working with the projects.
Yeah.
So I was actually not. I didn't feel like doing it. But there was one of the projects that, it was not something that I planned on selling. It was something I planned to put on Nupedia, but I couldn't find any good use for it. It was quite fun to play around with. It was this infrared emulation tool that allowed you to. I don't know if you've ever seen infrared photos before.
I don't think
That
I've
thing
had.
where if you take a photo with like infrared cutoff filter on your camera,
Mm-hmm.
everything that's usually green will be completely bright white. So if you have like a picture of a forest, all the trees and all the leaves and all the grass will just completely like be glowy white. Looks very surreal. And I did sort of a mix of that where everything that glows up becomes very yellow or very red or very blue. And it looks really, really amazing, like a hue shift, but just very fancy algorithm for that.
All right.
And I couldn't. There's no one who wants to use that. So I developed. I thought that maybe making some lots or something like that would be awesome. And then I came across maybe I should try to create an app for it, because in an app form that would be really cool. And so I created this app. It turns out it was actually pretty simple to create an iPhone app. And so I started sharing some photos and videos of that. And at some point, some of my friends and family wanted like, what's this app that you're using? And I figured, okay, maybe I should release this app. So I created this thing, put it on iTunes, and my friends and family and stuff like that, they downloaded it, and that was a nice thing. I didn't earn anything off it, like it was like a few bucks, something like that, nothing too fancy. And then at some point, some woman started posting photos of it, or like
No
tagging
way.
me. And I went into her profile, and it turns out that she was working for Apple, and she was doing advertising for Apple. And we were talking and back and forth, and lo and behold, like at some point, she asked if it was okay that they did like a promotion piece about my app on the Apple Instagram account.
Yeah, of course. You said of course.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah.
And so at some point, Apple, they posted like a post about it and a story about it. And that day, everything just changed, because my phone literally like melted, because there was like Instagram notifications
Oh
like
my
every
god.
damn second. And yeah, at that point, I just I was earning so much that I couldn't go under the radar at that point, right? It was literally like months of month's salary in like few hours or something like that. So it was that was like the good excuse to get that stuff solved, right? So I
Cool. I didn't
created
know
the
that. Sorry.
company,
That's
and
pretty good. Pretty good.
yeah,
Cool
exactly.
story. Yeah.
So I created the company, and I got everything up and running, and then I could add a little bit of funds to like buy a Creative Cloud subscription, so I get like for creating the the videos and stuff like that. And then there's absolutely no excuse to not create the Nuke tools as well. So I decided to just go ahead and create sort of the website and everything for it, and really work on finishing the tool itself. And I got good help from I don't know if you know Lars Vemminger. He previously worked at the Foundry. He's doing he's doing the small promo videos on Nukepedia for like all
what's his name again?
Do like some of the tool breakdowns. Lars.
Yeah, that name. Yeah, I know.
Lars
I know his name. Yes.
Vemming.
Yeah, he does the tool breakdowns from the Nukepedia. Yes, I know him.
Yeah, exactly. He asked if he could do like the small icons and like the visual identity for my company.
Okay.
It was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, what do you want for it? And he's like, I don't want anything for it. And just give me a free copy of your tools. And I was like, are you sure about that? I usually don't like people working for free. But that's he was absolutely certain and insisted on it.
Cool.
So he created the visual identity, all the small icons and stuff like that. It was really amazing. And of course, Xavier, like a good friend from ILM, Xavier Martin, he was helping me since day one. Like every time I got like a new build of the tool, I posted it to him. And it's funny when you create tools like that, you are the author and you think you know everything about your tools, and you post it to someone like him, and you get like some amazing screenshot return, and it's like, how did you do that?
Because
like what buttons did you push?
I've been aware of that collaboration with Xavier. I've never met Xavier, but I know that you have this collaboration with him. So for those of you that don't know who we're talking about, Xavier Martin is an FXCD working currently at ILM, and he's pretty much your QA engineer, right? He's the guy doing the stress tests.
He is. Just
tools,
really,
right?
I mean, it's just also just the way that he's a Houdini guy, was quite interesting, but he still does some Nuke stuff, and this Nuke stuff he does is like beyond. So I think it's
cool. It's cool, and a lot of shots. A lot of shots that people probably have seen from the tool are actually his. Not all of them, but some of them are actually his. Like with the Taurus and all that stuff, it's his. Yeah,
it was like the perfect promo. Like, I'm nobody, and there's like someone. If usually some companies is like, if someone from ILM posts something about something, it's good enough for them, right? So having that as sort of a promo piece, like on the first day, that I guess that drives a lot of sales, I guess.
Of course. But you come up with such a competitive price that there's really no excuse for people not having taken. It's a no-brainer, really.
I was actually people were actually forcing me to push it up a bit, because initially I thought way lower than that.
Even lower.
Yeah, even lower. That I was actually some people actually said that would be completely stupid. So I think that was actually a good price. And I think that, it's a general problem, I guess, with software licensing, is that, it is so expensive, especially just like Nuke itself is so expensive. You have Houdini, which is extremely expensive. And I think that's usually the turnoff when you have like a nice piece of software, but you don't end up buying it because
it's too expensive.
That's kind of the price thing. And the other thing is, usually if the price is too low, it means that at some point the developers behind it kind of don't really care about it, and then it kind of just dies out. Like, optical flares, it's kind of, it's get updated like every year or something like that, which is quite unfortunate. So it has to be something. The good thing about doing Blade Script thing is that you don't need to maintain it as much. I don't need to make a new version for every new version of Nuke.
Yeah, exactly.
And that, of course, means that
it stays there.
Less. Yeah, and that really does help a lot. If I needed to update it for every single version of Nuke, I might need to like make a maintenance version of something like that.
Yeah.
But since it just works on every version of Nuke, there's no need to do that. So I think having a good price and it might be. The single license might be good, but the site license might need to be a bit. I'm trying to figure out like what is the good pricing point that you need to have in order to make that sustainable.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to have like a full-time job doing that, and the market is actually, it was surprisingly big compared to what I actually thought initially. Like I was thinking like, okay, maybe I sell 2 or 3 copies of this, but yeah, it's hundreds and hundreds of copies, right? So
Yeah.
there's no need to worry about that stuff. It's just about finding the right price for each of those tiers.
Yeah, but again, as I said,
Yeah.
and I told you this even before this conversation, pretty much every company that I've been working with, after you release that, everyone has a copy of it because it's a no-brainer, because the price is such a good price that is a no-brainer. And not only you come up with such a competitive price, you've also took another step of complete altruism, which is you let the source code being an open source. I mean, that's kind of crazy, isn't it?
No,
Because
I think from myself, I learn a lot from other sources that kind of have open code themselves. So for me, that just makes so much sense to bring that on, because I mean, again, I mean, if I were to learn like everything there is to learn about rendering, it would take a lot of time. So usually it's like I read up on something and there's someone who wrote like this snippet, and I take that and I like modify, figure out how that should work within sort of the context of my render. And so sometimes I just read through it and try to make something from the ground up. But it's usually take like, it's even when you do Python tools like on Nupedia, you take like, oh, this little node that works perfectly here, and that thing works perfectly there, and it's just like that thing of sharing that on. And there's so little, I guess, so little code, blank script code on the net at this point. And I just think it would be so beneficial for the industry as a whole if there's,
for sure,
if there were like more code out there. So that was another thing, I really wanted to promote this.
Well, I think that's
kind of also yeah, sure.
No, please go ahead.
No, yeah, but I mean that's also like a win-win, because that means that the Foundry, like, also that they pay more attention to it and work a bit more on it. Because I mean, the last Nuke update, they did some significant changes to the Blink script framework, and that's really lovely to see that kind of attention be brought to it, because it seems like they were really hesitant to do that before.
Because probably nobody was actually paying attention or actually taking it as a viable kind of resource to do, the kind of things that you come up with. And by the fact that now, there was a person that really took it seriously and pushed the boundary so much, and the advantages are in your face. Of course, it's something that I think, again, it's a no-brainer that they would develop the framework even further.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that you,
like, so.
I was just about to say that the fact that you left it open source, I think it's the ultimate altruism attitude that you could have taken, and I think everybody, all of us, should be really thankful for having people like you in the industry that are willing to share. It's not secrets; it's all about like knowledge. Because people will say, "Oh, this guy knows this secret, or that guy knows that secret." I mean, it's not about secrets; it's all about diving into like with your hands and head and the entire body into something that you don't even know what will be, and then it turned out to be quite good. And as you just pointed out, we all learn with everybody, and the fact that you are now giving it back, I think it's quite awesome to see. So thank you.
And like you said, like all this, there's a lot of shortcomings. Like there's so many things that you cannot do when you're like, there's some limitations with the Blink script, and that means there are a lot of things that you cannot do. And so having it open also means that if you like you say, there's some people who find some shortcomings that maybe if they kind of just to be able to mess around with the code, maybe they can like create their own versions of the tools. Which will like aid kind of their sort of experience with the tool itself. So yeah, exactly. And just touch the point that I alluded in the beginning of our conversation, which is some of the criticism, which is a really strong word, but I would like to give you the opportunity to address that. Which it looks really beautiful, it's really fast, and all that, but in a film production type of pipeline, it doesn't give us the control that we require to achieve a certain effect. And by myself experimenting with it a little bit, yes, I understand what people say about that, but I think the concept or the starting point, it's a completely different one. I think it's a great thing, for example, to achieve very specific things that you don't even know how they will turn out,
it's kind of a surprise. So it works really well for things like motion graphics and stuff like that. But on the film environment, because it's such a a fixed kind of a situation that we have all the time, because it's too many shots. The client, a lot of times, they don't even know what they want. They just want to look beautiful, really. And then some of these situations cannot be adopted, or some of these looks cannot be adopted on a global scale like that, right?
Yeah, that's your usual problem. Like, you find one look that you need to replicate across multiple shots, and they have like different angles, and the model is like moved around and stretched and something like that. And that means that at some points, well, it might look good from that one direction, but it doesn't look good from that direction. And specifically the way that it's sort of the way that it's rendering means that there are some shortcomings, like in the way that you perceive perspective, because everything is like 1 pixel in size. That means that you don't really perceive perspective in the way that you normally do, because like some things would like be darker or brighter depending on how far they're from camera. Some would be like bigger or smaller, and that means that if your thing turn around, it looks like you don't know if it's turning one way around or the other way around.
I get what you're saying.
So that's some of the problems that you end up with. I mean, we had some issues as well with when using it in production, because we were using it as sort of a hero element, and it was working fine for like 90% of the shots, and there was like those 10% where it completely didn't work because you couldn't get the perspective, so we needed to cheat a lot to get that stuff working. But yeah, I totally get it, but that's kind of like, it is specifically made for these like MoGraph element, like these I don't know what the right term are for them.
Well, I don't know either, because I'm not a motion graphics guy. But
for those magic, a lot of people have been using them for magic effects and stuff like that, like for spells and for energy blasts and stuff like that. So I guess for those things, it's
because those things are there's a ton of references for magical effects, but what normally clients want is something that they've never seen before, and it's really looks like really complex and all that stuff. So for those kind of things, I think it works really well, because every effect can be a slightly different effect. But I mean, if you're not asking me to defend you or anything like that, but what I can say about that is, the tool serves the purpose of why it was built. I mean, it was not built for taking those challenges. It was built for what it does. So it's not really a criticism, or it shouldn't be a criticism by people saying that. It's just different tools serve different purposes, and this tool serves a certain type of purposes. So different tools. We all have different tools, and I've been saying this a lot, which is, as compositors, especially as a supervisor, I always tell to my guys, like, you have to face yourself as a Swiss Army knife, because different problems will require different solutions, and sometimes a solution is the best solution for one problem in a whole sequence, but cannot be replicated for other sequences, and it's sometimes the other way around, but it doesn't look so good. So it's like you have to trade, the good and bad. So the tool serves the purpose of why and how it was built. That's all I can say.
And that's, I mean, a lot of that is also on my part, like trying to promote it in a way where it tells like in what situations it makes good sense to use it and what situation it doesn't. I mean, I've learned a lot through this. I mean, this is my first tool, so it's like you constantly learn. There's also like the thing about educating people. I was quite slow at getting the first tutorials out, because I was making so many changes at the beginning to the tools. This, after releasing them, I found all these problems because people were like writing back, and I was just like, okay, I need to fix that. I need to fix this. So I figured out if I did the tutorials, I would need to redo them like a few months later. So I was like, okay, let me just fix these things up. So coming up with tutorials, that was a bit slow as well. So there's a constant, like, that thing of you constantly learning about, the things that you make and how to improve them. And definitely something like that, like trying to teach or explain to people in what cases this is really good for, and what are sort of the usually the shortcomings of the tool, because that means that when people want to like create a certain effect, they know from the get-go that should they approach it with this tool or should they not approach it with this tool? Because that's usually the problem, right? You had this tool, you bought it, and you're not sure if it can solve the problem that you're on. So yeah, you're not really sure if it's the right tool to try it out. And then you try it out, and then there's this one thing that it cannot do, and it's like, why did I even bother? Right?
Well, but the thing, I would say that the more people play with a certain tool, whether it's this tool or any other tool, you know, the better they will know the tool, when it breaks, what it makes, and how far they can push it. So it's actually the only way of coming up with that kind of approach, whether, you know, in a certain situation I will use this or I use that. And that's actually the reason, and I think I've said this here in this show before, and that's the actual reason why I normally, or very rarely, I use tools from you know, an open source or anything like that, because probably I wouldn't understand them to the point that I want to understand them, so I don't know when they break or when they, you know, yeah, basically when they break. So from the very beginning of my career, I started developing my own tools until now, and I have a huge tool collection. And that's the reason. That's the reason. But if you want to use somebody else's tools, and there's great tools out there, of course, yours it's one of them, of course. You know, there's no other way to know exactly when it breaks, rather than try it as much as you as much as you can. You know.
But again, but I really love the workflow, and I would hope that kind of workflow would end up somehow new, because that thing of working with images as data, like you want to like move the positions up at a grade node and then grade it up a bit. You want to add some texture to it, just multiply it, like a bit of like Houdini, like the way that you treat data, that you can treat data as anything. And I kind of miss that from Nuke, because the point where they could do that, right, where you just treat it as 2D data. But if you have the particle system, like it's the particle system, and you have your data inside the particle system, you cannot add a grade node in there. You cannot add a ramp or like a custom texture or something without having it in the particle emitter node. Or now you can actually with the blink script node.
Now you can. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, exactly. But that kind of way, the same with geometry, like being able to modify geometry using an image or something like that. Just the way of thinking of data and images as data and images as like the one thing. That's what I really love about the point runner, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Just touch a point that it's I think it's so important for you know, for people that are watching the show that would like to know more about data and how they can manipulate data. And I think the best starting point is to know linear algebra, because if you know linear algebra, you know how CG is made, basically, and then that will open up so many doors for you, man. I mean, everybody it's watching the show, please learn. And this is one of the reasons why I picked up the technical highlight of the week as being that very simple paper, and you can only extract that information if you know at least what a vector is. If you don't know what a vector is, I mean, there's no point. But even if you know what a vector is from school or whatever, and then you know how to do multiplications and dot products and all that, but if you cannot relate that with CG or with what we do, and now you can break and manipulate that kind of you know, data. I mean, you wouldn't extract anything like that. So there's no other way around. There's no easy way out apart from, you know, reading some books and do some research yourself, because it's the only way. It's the only way. And if you know linear algebra, I mean, trust me, and I think you can agree with me. If you know linear algebra and if you know how that can be translated to CG, I mean, a lot of doors will open in your mind.
It's so amazing, and it's just like you save so much time, and you don't need to fiddle around with, oh, this node usually does something like that. It's like, okay, I need that node because that's exactly what I need to fix this problem. So yeah, knowing that stuff, it's
and sometimes you hear people you know, talking about, you know, whether it's cross product or dot product, and then they don't really understand what it is and why it's so important and what you can do with it. So if you know these concepts, if you heard about these concepts, please really dive into them to know exactly what they are and how you can visualize them in space. Because a lot of these things, and a lot of times we learn all of these things in school, but it's like so generic that you don't even see a single application on how to use them. And
That's the
right?
problem.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Finally learning what all of this stuff, how it actually works.
Yeah.
And it was through comping. Like,
yeah.
why didn't we have like some visual representation of all this kind of
Man,
stuff?
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Kind of click.
I'm with you on that 200%. And if there's I'm a very critical guy of the way that it's my fault, of course, but because I wasn't paying attention. But if they would give us like a practical approach of things, I mean, your interest would change immediately, I would say.
Exactly.
But because these things are really easy to visualize in space if you if they really want to show you that, you know. And actually, that reminds me of something that recently, maybe I will post this in a few weeks in here. Why not? I just built a tool, very simple thing, in which you can draw vectors in space inside of the 3D space in Nuke that can be rendered in 2D. So you can place vectors any way you want. You can know the cross product, you can know the dot product, and you can visualize in space how these things react with each other. So we'll see if I make it available for everyone here. I normally don't share my tools publicly, but now I'm a bit ashamed that you just mentioned that it's an open source kind of a situation that you have there, and I'm not sharing myself. So maybe I will share this one with the viewers, because I think it helps or should help everyone to understand how light works, or CG overall works in such a much better way. So let's see what people are asking. I think there's some things in here. Let's see if this is a question. So just out of curiosity, is the upcoming Mist tool? Yeah, we haven't talked about that. Is it the upcoming Mist tool an on steroids version of Spot Flare or something completely new? The images you've posted about this looks awesome. I was about to ask you that and I forgot, because you've been teasing this new tool for maybe a couple of weeks or so. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
It's interesting with the Spot Flare thing, because I mean, I started out with Spot Flare, and then I did the volume tool, and then I did the point render, but I finished point render first, and now I'm doing the volume render, and then I'm doing the Spot Flare in the end. So Spot Flare and the Mist tool is completely different. Spot Flare is like a lens flare generator thing. So we're working on that. But the Mist, that's kind of going back to that thing with the Assassin's Creed Unity, with all the amazing God rays. You know, I really wanted to create like a way to do proper volumes inside of Nuke. I started out with the same approach that that other volume render that came out a bit later. What's his name?
Eddie?
It's a bit no. It's Matthew Shaw.
I don't know.
His site is called Gizmos and Games.
I think I came across with it.
Yeah, it's really cool. He also shares a lot of stuff. He's a really amazing guy. That was kind of the same approach, like doing like that CMS test pattern, like volumes. But now it's, for the new tool, it's like completely free, so the camera can go anywhere, and there's like volumes everywhere. So it's like the idea of doing volume lights, like being able to set like some spotlights here and like a light here, and having it all sort of interact with a volume where there's like some sort of density and there's some scattering of the light, and a bit gamey in the look. But that's kind of the thing, you know, you can do a lot of things inside advanced render, but you have to pay with the time it takes to render. So the approach here is just having something that renders very fast. Yeah. It still looks fairly, I mean, it looks quite funky, I think. So
I would beg to differ. Like, I don't think, from what you've posted, I don't think it looks gamey. It looks sci-fi. That's what it looks, right?
Yeah.
If sci-fi is gamey, all right, I'll take it.
I really like going all, like when you do those kind of tools, you really have to like push the thing up to 11, right? So it's just, everything is just completely foggy. But yeah. So it's not necessarily as realistic as having something go through like Eddie or something, where it's much more about, you know, creating something that is realistic. This thing is much more about getting something out quick.
Quick and beautiful.
Right? You want a faster iteration time. I'd really love to
quick
have
and beautiful,
all those real-time tools inside the Nuke.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for the highlight, Mauricio, about, because I was about to forget to ask that actually about your upcoming tool. Do you have any dates, by the way, on, are you about to release that? Is it going to be released in the same way as the point render?
Actually, yeah, it's going to be the same way. And everything. The thing is, it's where the point render is. The cool thing about point render is so easy for me to extend. So it's like you have your lights, kind of the geometry, and then you have the render itself. There's no steps in between. That also means that it's simpler for me to develop. So it's almost done. Actually, I maybe I'm going to get some help from some guys at Veda.
Cool.
Testing it out and stuff. So I guess that's kind of the good way of getting like some testing people.
All right, cool. That's good to know.
The best. It's kind of like the completely opposite of what we're doing, like in sort of a low end, like smaller departments. So it's good to have that kind of feedback, kind of how it fits in like a bigger, more structured pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you very much once again.
Yep.
So people are asking for the note fights. So unless some other people, by the way, Matt agreed to do this, so that's gonna happen. But I just want to ask anyone if there's any other question. If there's any other question, please keep them coming, and then probably we're gonna address like one or two at the end, and that will be it. Okay, so we're gonna do the usual note fight. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah? All right, let's do the note fight right now. Okay, the counter is on. All right. So, all right, let's start with a simple one. All right. Chromatic aberration.
Chromatic aberration. We have that tool at work. What's it called? The problem is it's actually just called chromatic aberration in our pipeline. I don't actually remember who created it.
Okay.
That's actually a good question. So, but it's I just can't remember. It's just called chromatic aberration.
All right.
In our pipeline. Yeah.
Okay, let's skip that one.
Yeah.
Refraction.
Yeah. Refraction.
Can be a tool. Let me just.
I'd probably do that myself. Like,
yeah.
Just do a bit of simple like some STMap stuff, and like the eye distort, and do a bit of blur to get like some softness.
All right.
Depending on kind of what object it is.
Cool. Dispill. What's your favorite dispill process or dispiller?
Dispill. Yeah. I mean, keylight is always good. I think.
I'm with you on that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that.
All right. Neutral grades. Do you use anything special for neutral grades?
For what?
Neutral grades.
Oh, neutral grades. Yeah. I actually have this personal tool that I've developed for like completely flattening the image, reducing everything, just making sure that everything is in range. It's something that I've developed myself. I could probably put it on Wikipedia, I guess.
All right, cool. Yeah. I think a lot of people would like that.
Yeah.
All right. Deflickering.
Deflickering, yeah. I mean, depending on kind of the situation of the flick, because usually when it's like a small segmented part, I usually use a bit of like a vector generator stuff.
Yeah.
It's like generating vectors from some of the previous frames and trying to work out a median.
Yeah.
From the upcoming frames, and then just sorting them together to create like a deflaker pass. Yeah.
Cool, nice one.
And then some time blur and stuff like that.
Nice one. Dry to wet.
Dry to wet. Yeah, that's actually a good question. Kind of depends on the challenge. I mean, there's the usual thing of like keying out the highlights and blurring those out, but I just had so many issues, like so many times where that didn't work. So yeah, it's probably something about blurring the highlights and trying to like be eroding some of the dark parts. And yeah.
Okay, cool. Reflections.
Reflections. That's one thing that we deal with all the time. That would be nice to have like a good like one-click solution for. But that's usually for me like reflections on hard surface. That's usually like manual labor, like making clean plate and yeah. But it's something I really want to find a good solution for.
Okay.
I guess deep learning could be a good one.
There you go. Cool. Matching grain.
Matching grain. Yeah. Usually, I guess that's kind of a lot of the manipulation process. We have dwelled a bit into that at work with like doing automatic grain matching as sort of a tool. But usually, that's for me also just like looking at the highlights and the paths, and we use that grain for the grain itself. So yeah.
This is the second time that tool has been mentioned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quite amazing.
Cool. All right. Last one. All right.
Yeah.
Crowds.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the particle system, while it can be really frustrating to work at with from time to time, you know, when you just set up like a good deal of cards and you know, that they've done a few good tutorials as well, the Foundry, but it's with the new controls of the Blink script, there's so much more we can do now.
There you go.
I really love it.
That was a good plug.
So definitely.
Cool. All right, man. Yeah. All right. That was a good one. Thank you. It's very interesting.
Honestly, I really like that new Blink script part that they added to, because there were so many things. There was so much potential inside of that the particle system itself, and there's just so many times where you hit the wall and you just couldn't push it any further because there's like rotation was bound to the velocity of the particle. So if the particle wasn't moving, you couldn't rotate it. It was like, why? So finally having that kind of full control over the particle system, it's so amazing. Yeah.
Cool. That was a really nice one, and it's the reason. Let me just remind everyone that is probably new to the show. The reason I do the notified, it was out of fun, really. We started, you know, as not as an official thing or anything. It was just for fun, and then people really liked it. And it's the intention, I guess, at this point is to know different ways of achieving the same things, and that's I think really important, especially for new people that are maybe kind of biased just because the way they you know, they learn certain things, that they think there's only one way of doing things, and it's actually the opposite. Especially in compositing, we fake things all the time. So this is you know, a way for all of you to know that that's the actual case, and everybody works differently and adopt different solutions for the same kind of situations. All right, cool. Let's see if there's any last questions. Too cool and much fun. Cool. Nice to hear that. Nice to see that for every question, Mas would probably develop something himself. Yeah, I couldn't do, for example, the node fight myself, because I think for all, and actually probably all of those things, I have tools that do that kind of thing. Probably I would answer similar to the way that you did yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun.
Where we like, do we use any tools that we don't have in our own arsenal of tools? Because I mean, like you say, it's such a good way for people to like a grain node. I mean, if people use grain master or something, that's grain, that could be interesting, right? So yeah, it's a good way for people to learn about something new.
Yeah. Yeah, like, but don't get me wrong. I once in a while, it's rare. I have to say it's very rare, and people that are on this show at the moment, or have been working with me for the past years or something, know that this is true. But it's also true that sometimes I use somebody else's tools just because, you know, it's quicker. It's already something that it's, you know, simple enough for me not to be worried about whether or not it's going to break. And actually, one of them I just remember, it's one of your tools that it's. One of the very first ones, which is the spot flare that someone mentioned. Yeah. Just because you know those trickiness that that the tool gives you, and I think it's probably one of the first versions, if not the first version, really. Just because, you know, it's something simple, looks good, does the job. Carry on and use it, you know what I mean? So there's actually one exception, which is one of your tools, but other than that, I normally use my own for the reason that I just explained. Well, once again, Mas, thank you very much. I learned a lot. I learned how to mention your name, which a lot of people think it's Mads, but it's not. It's Mas. Maz
Hagbarth, yeah.
Right? There you go.
Best Hagbarth, actually.
There you go. See, it was similar. It was not exactly the same. It was similar. All right. Listen, once again, thank you very much. And I hope you return at some point for the time that this show will last for. I don't know. I think I want this show to last for a long time.
It's amazing. Really nice like that you take your time and do this stuff. Because, I really, I mean, generally, just people who, like, the whole community, like, all of the people who contribute, it's so fantastic. There's also like all the blogs and you know, I really would love for someone to like make a list of all the different like personal websites of people who actually have like community blogs, because like I said, there are so many times when you like stumble upon something like somewhere and you can't really remember where it was.
Yeah. So, well, I keep my own list, I have to say.
Yeah.
I keep my own list.
Have like a public list of something, something like that.
Maybe why not? Maybe why not? One day, well, I can share mine. Why not? One of these days. Well, thank you once again, Matt. I won't take more of your time. People should be very thankful for all your developments and for your contribution to the industry. It's been really, really amazing, and such an altruistic kind of attitude that you have all around. So thank you once again. For myself, I'm thanking you personally, and I think everybody should do the same. Thank you once again. I'm sorry for the glitch in the beginning. It was actually my fault. I thought it was not, but it was actually the fact that the machine just needed a good old restart anyway. So thank you once again, Maz, and thank you for your patience, and hopefully we catch up with each other at some point in the future.
That'd be awesome.
This time in person, maybe. Why not? When this whole pandemic thing,
that would be cool.
That would be cool, right? Please stay on so we can have like a final chat between us two. This is, you know, as I said last time, one of the perks of being the host of the show. I can have extended conversations with the guests. But thank you everyone that watched this one. I hope you liked it, and I'll see each other next week. Don't forget the tech challenge this week. I'm gonna be posting this on Discord channel. Maz probably will join the Discord channel as well. And I have one thing to disclose to you guys. I just remember now. There's actually a connection between the tech challenge and our guest this week. That's the only thing that I'm gonna say. All right, that's the only thing I'm gonna say. So take care, guys, and see you next week. All right, bye bye.